Welcome to the God, Money, and Purpose podcast. My name is Vivian Villacis. I am here with the love of my life.
My name is Raul Villacis, and I'm the co-host of this amazing woman right here that I have in front of me. Yeah, amazing job. That's great. It's a great job.
Yes.
Great introduction.
That's right.
God, Money, and Purpose podcast. All right, so we're here. Want to answer some of your questions. We're going to look at some of the comments that you're bringing us here in this live feed. So if you're watching us through Facebook, just make sure you comment. Let us know where you're watching us from. If you're connecting us through YouTube, just make sure that you subscribe, that you comment and give us some feedback. If you're watching us or listening to us through Spotify, through iTunes, or any of those platforms for podcasts, thank you. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for investing your time, your energy to join us in this podcast. So today's topic, what's today's topic?
I don't know exactly what we're going to talk about, but we were briefly talking about, is it uncertainty or like just all the challenges that we have once we feel uncertain?
I think one of the conversations we had before coming to the podcast is that, you know, we constantly see the evolution of some of the people that we coaching, right? You coaching women, I'm coaching men. And what we said is like when there is a moment when the women and the men are in alignment, there's a common denominator, which is certainty, right? Certainty. Like when the guy has certainty, when the woman is certain, when they're going towards the same goal, then everything seems to be a flow.
And that would be like our ideal thing, right? Like if we were able to, because that's what happened to us this weekend. We got to talk to this beautiful couple that were coaching with us. One of them is coaching with you. The woman's coaching with me. And we got to see that firsthand because there was so much uncertainty when they were just doing life. And when we get to talk to them and give them just perspective of like, okay, how do we tweak little things here and there? They eventually add up to like big things, and they actually feel. That's the cool thing. Like the women get to feel the certainty of like, whether it's in your relationship as a couple, whether it's the relationship to yourself, whether it's a relationship with your kids. I think when you are certain about what's happening in your life, then it's such a ease, so effortless.
You know, but one of the things that I was giving the feedback to the guy that I'm coaching is that, you know, he's a producer. He produces a lot of money in real estate, so he knows how to make money. And his belief at that moment was, as long as I could make all this money, as long as I have the house, you know, he has the boats, he has the cars, he has all the toys, as long as I could provide this for my wife, everything's going to be happy. But the reality is, that's part of the equation. You know, if you're a producer, if you're hard work, I don't think there's any man out there that doesn't want to produce. I think that's in our DNA.
Yeah.
We want to be producers. We want to provide, want to be providers. But the belief that we have, or the limited belief that we have, is that that's going to be enough, right? So here's this guy, he's making sure I have his role. I'm making more money than I ever made in my life. But I'm running around 100 miles an hour. I don't know how I could bring that certainty to my wife that everything's going to be okay. And I asked him this question, which I want the listeners to understand from a man's perspective, is what do you get if you're living on the future? Because what I'm hearing is that you're working towards the future. So uncertainty and fear exist in two places. One is in the future, because we're constantly working our asses off to make sure that we can provide in the future.
Yeah.
We're chasing, right? Well, whatever we want. And the other one is in the past. The fear, the regret, the guilt, and the shame. So I said, are you present with your wife, with your kids? Are you there when you're home? And he goes, well, that's exactly what the problem is. I'm never home. Yeah. Even though my body's as a home, I'm looking at my phone, and I'm checking my emails, and my clients are calling me every 5 minutes. Everybody wants my attention. I said, well, you are cheating on your wife. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, you're having an affair with your business,
with whatever you're doing.
You're cheating on your wife with your business. And that's where the uncertainty comes in from the feminine energy. Like, I'm not priority. I'm not number one. Yeah. He's doing all this for him, not for us.
So then that brings me back to like, then the woman, how we feel like this uncertainty that you are feeling at the moment, right? It's like, we don't know. He's providing, obviously. He's a great provider. And you men are so amazing at doing that. We talked about it with my coaching clients. It's like, for men, what they are there to do is to provide, to protect, and to procreate. And you guys are so good at doing that. Now, if you get stuck on this, I say it to them, like this hamster wheel that you just keep going around and around and around. It really is just like a wheel, right? You're always providing, you're always protecting, you're procreating, and you're going around in this circle, in this hamster wheel, but that's so tiring. And at the same time, like for us women, like how we feel at the other side is like we have this uncertainty and we feel like anxiety from not having you guys fully present and enjoying this time and showing love and showing affection. And there's this place that we start to lose trust, and not in the trust that you could provide, because you are providing, but losing trust in the fact, like, are you going to be here for me? If you haven't been here all this time because you're providing, I need you to be here. And that in itself brings so much anxious anxiety in our bodies.
But you see that even that thought for you to start looking at, you're going to be here for me. That's part of the certainty, right? Like,
yeah,
like that's what I think. Sometimes, like, we think that as long as we provide, it's going to be enough, right? And then the pattern that we go to is, shit, what else does she want from me? I'm giving her the house. I have, the bank account, everything that she wants. What else does she want from me? I have another client that he just built, his wife a beautiful house. They have everything, but she's not happy. And I said, you understand, she doesn't want all those things. She wants you to be present. But then here's the other part where you women come in and fuck shit up for us, is now you trying to control us. Then you try to, okay, how can I get his attention? I want to control what he's doing.
Yeah, because it's the only way that we know unconsciously. That's how we know how to like break that pattern and either like, a princess throw a tantrum and then just throw yourself there or try to control or emasculate or make you feel less than, to like try to like
exactly.
get you to wake up and to see me.
And that is the go-to place where I believe a lot of women go to try to gain control, is to try to cut the balls off the men
and grab them from you.
Grab them and say, okay, you know what? You could be the badass in business, but when you're here, I'm the one in charge. And you grab his balls and you put them in your purse, and you think that you're winning. Yeah. The reality is that you are castrating him. You're cutting his power off. So now all of a sudden you're with a man
that sounds so harsh.
Just becomes a pleaser. Yeah. And you're with a man that he could be a badass in his business, but he cannot be who he is. He doesn't have the permission that he needs. So of course he's gonna go where he gets his most certainty, which is his business, which is his office, where he's at. And that's where I think, women think, why is my man, in his office? Why would he rather be in his office than at home? It's because you fucking have his balls. Like, and then you wonder why he's not the same guy that you met before, why he doesn't have the same spark. I'm not blaming it all on the woman. It starts with a man, that the man gave his power away, because that's, I look back on what happened with us and how the polarity got lost, because I got tired of fighting with you. So I'd rather just give you my balls than to fight and to argue. Yeah. So that's when we give up. And I think that's where, when I start this conversation, is where is the time that you just say give up and you say, you know what, it's not worth fighting. I'm going to let him control me. I'm going to let him control me, because I don't have the energy to continue to fight. I just want peace. When you say give up, like you give up what? You're giving up your personality. You give up your voice. In a woman, you give up your voice. In a man, you give up your balls. I think like the woman gives up her voice because she doesn't want to speak up. The man gives up his balls because he doesn't want to take charge. And it's a vicious cycle that we fall into. And it's just like, that's a never ending thing, right? Again, we get back into this hamster wheel, and then it's like the fighting, the bickering, the pointing, the complaining. And I think we find a lot of marriages where we found ourselves too, like we were there, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, how can we come back to this place of certainty? How do we come back to this place of like, you're not my enemy? And I had a great conversation over the week. It's like, sometimes we treat, and we've talked about this before too, you and I, it's like we treat each other as each other's enemy, instead of like, you are my friend, you're my alliance, you are my help. But we lose track of that. And I think just going back to like, okay, how do we feel so uncertain? It's just because we lose track of all of that. The same thing like with God, sometimes like you feel uncertainty and in the prayer, like if we are going through a prayer and you're not seeing that prayer answered, and it's like you don't believe in that anymore, you don't trust God anymore, and that just falls back on us. Again, it always comes back to us, because it's like, well, maybe I'm asking for something that
that it's not for me at this moment, whether it's a prayer, whether it's a request to your husband. And I think when we kind of like pause and ask better questions,
it comes down to you said trust, right?
Mm-hmm.
First, trust in God, like trust that on the process. I always talk about trusting in the process, trusting the timing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, trusting in your capacity to listen. Before the call, I had a coaching call with a client, and he said, "Raul, like, I'm killing in business. Business is my go-to place to find my certainty.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time meeting women and having relationships. He has a hard time meeting women. Women want to date this guy all the time, but he has a hard time trusting, right? Mm-hmm. So he's in the real estate business. So I said to him, how do you find the deals? He goes, I said, when you're around looking for deals in real estate, do you think like, man, there is no good deals out there? I'm never going to find a deal.
The deals come to him.
And he says, no, man, I know there's deals out there. Yeah. I know that I'm going to find a good deal. I said, okay, so the first belief that you have in real estate is you believe there's a good deal, and that's you believe, right? I said, what's the second belief that you have when it comes to real estate? He goes, I believe that I could find, if I find a deal, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to raise the capital. I'm going to close the deal. I'm going to negotiate. So I have the capacity to negotiate the deal so I could buy it, right?
Yeah.
So I said, what's the third belief? I said, do you have to know everything when you have the deal? Do you have to know everything? I said, no. The third belief is that I'm going to figure things out.
Figure it out.
The third belief is I'm going to figure it out. Like, whatever I need to do in the property or the building, I'm going to figure it out so I can make a profit. So there's three beliefs that you have. First belief is there's a deal out there and you're going to find it. The second belief is that you have the capacity to make it happen. The third belief is that you don't have to know everything, that you're going to figure things out on the way. Mm-hmm. So let's turn those three beliefs into a relationship. Okay? Is there a queen out there? Could you believe there's a queen out there for you? He goes, I don't know. I said, so that's the part. So if you don't believe it's out there, how are you going to find her? Uh-huh. If you don't believe there's a deal out there for you in real estate, how are you going to find a deal? So that's the first thing. So all these men are walking around thinking there's no more good woman out there, and they don't believe it.
Yeah.
So therefore, you're programming yourself and you're sabotaging your first belief. So let's just say
she's out there.
That she's out there. Okay, you believe that. Okay.
Yeah.
You believe that you have the capacity to actually conquer her heart or be with her. He goes, well, I don't know. You see, that's the second belief, that you don't believe that even if she's out there,
is he really ready for
love? You don't believe that you're ready to be able to tap into that connection, right?
Yeah.
So what's the belief that's stopping? What's the third belief? The third one is that
he'll figure it out.
I need to have everything online. So you see, he reversed it because he needs to first know everything, then he'll believe that he's ready, and then he'll believe that the queen is out there for him. So let's even go deeper. Do you believe that God, is real? He goes, yeah, I believe that God is real. I believe that God's out there. So do you believe that you have the capacity to become a co-creator with God? He goes, well, that's the faith that I'm struggling with.
Yeah, and even to know that God has someone for you. And I think a lot of the times, like, we just say that, but we really don't believe it. And that's something that I say that too all the time. It's like when your heart and your mind come in complete alignment to what God has in store for you, then it's like you don't doubt it. Because why would we doubt what God has for us?
And that it comes down again, belief. It comes down to belief. So whatever you struggle right now in life, if you're listening to this or you're watching this, whatever your struggle is, whether it's with relationships, with money, with health, it all comes down to how much belief do you have that you actually are going to figure out a way to solve this challenge.
Yeah, and I think that the belief is something that we need to work on daily, because it's something that I think we all struggle. Like, if we're being honest, it's something that we all struggle with, like believing that God really exists, or like my husband really loves me, and those things come about when, like, for me, especially I speak for myself, like when something that really makes me, like when we've had like struggles and God shows up, or your husband shows up, or your wife shows up, then it's like, oh my gosh, like she showed up in a way that I would never dreamed of. And that's when you start to believe. So I think, for me, and like, or if you're listening, when you lose trust, whether it's in your spouse or in God or in yourself, I would say, like, start to do little things that come back to trusting yourself. And that was life-changing for me, because there was a time in my life where I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust my intuition. I didn't trust my feelings. And I think the more that I really was with that feeling of like, do I really trust? Do I really believe? The answer was no. So then how do I believe?
How do you increase? So now,
how do I trust?
The way I look at how I get myself to trust more and believe more is I look at where in my life have I been able to overcome what I'm going through. Where in my life have I figured out a way? I always look back, 10 years ago when we lost everything.
Yeah.
It took me a while for me to regain that belief.
Yeah.
So whenever things are not going right in my business, I always go back to that place like, hey, I'm not as fucked as I was 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So and I remember going to the court, going to all these lawsuits, going through all this stuff. Like I'm not nowhere near that right now.
And you rebuilt.
So I'm finding my certainty based on how I was able to win the battles in the past. And I think a lot of us, we forget how many times have God showed us the path in the past? How many times there were miracles in our life that happened? How many times we got healed in disease? We got, miracles happen, and we forget how much God really took care of us. So if you have a problem with certainty, which, the topic on this conversation is number one belief that women need to have is certainty in the relationship, right? So maybe where did you have certainty in relationship at one point? When did you have certainty? The moment that you start believing or remembering when you have certainty, you could build on that. So that's the first phase. It's like remembering, having muscle memory of when was the last time I had certainty? When did I believe that he loved me, that she loved me, or that I made money, or that God was taking care of me, right?
Right.
So the second thing that you need to do is, okay, if that has been proven in the past, that I could go back and find that stepping stone, then what can I do to get a little closer to that?
But I would say, like, that's a really great point. But I would also say, like, don't get stuck on that, because I think a lot of the times, like, we go back to the past and we gain the strength from it, gain the gift, like, take that in and don't get stuck on it. Because I think a lot of the challenges that I see with the woman is like we get stuck in the past and we want to live there and we want to stay there and we want to reminisce and we want to like, can you do it this way? Can you do this again and again and again and again? And I had this conversation just last week. I'm like, you get the gift from the past. You get the strength. You get the energy. You bring it forward. You bring it in. Thank you, God. This is a beautiful gift. But don't get stuck back there because like you said at the beginning, like what is in the present right now? There is a new thing for me right now. And I know like for me, like especially for me, because I live in the past, like I gain a lot of energy from my past. I often want to stay there because it feels so comfortable. It feels so good.
And that's where I think that a lot of us, we find the comfort, right?
Yes.
Where we feel certain, where we feel secure.
Yes.
Okay, the past,
Yes.
oh yeah, that was nice. Or the future, once I do this, I'm going to be able to do that. But the reality is that the only opportunity that we have to make shit happen is in the present moment.
What's in front
it's
of you?
right in front of you.
Yeah.
What are you doing? How are you getting better? Like right now I'm going through this 30-day challenge, right? With eating healthy, right? So the first week was the hardest fucking week. The first week was the hardest one because I had no chocolate, no more ice cream, no more sugar. Then I had to watch my carbs, then I have to watch what I eat, then I have to watch all these things. So the first week, of course, is going to be the toughest one. But then the moment that I went after the first week, then things got a little easier. But it still was a challenge because I needed to remind myself. But what kept me in the challenge was the momentum. I saw my energy shift. I started feeling less foggy,
aches,
more energy.
aches or pains.
I started realizing like, man, like, I'm fasting. I'm finding a rhythm. So I'm now 4 weeks into this and now it's beginning to become a lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be able to see it because every time that somebody told me about health and all this, like, man, one day I'm going to do it. Like right now it's not the time because I'm busy. So then the moment that we actually said, okay, let's stop waiting for the one day. What can I do today? And what's the commitment that I need to do today? What's the decision that I need to make today? What do I need to let go today in order for me to be able to tap into who I'm becoming? Because we could all dream in the future. We could always live in the past.
Yeah.
But unless we're getting present, or how can I bring certainty in the present moment? And you realize that if you're present with what you're doing, and like if you're appreciating for today, you're gonna find all the certainty you need. And in the couples, in a relationship, there's certainty in just being in the same page together. That nothing is perfect. That it may not be perfect, but you're gonna figure shit out.
Yeah, and I would say like when there's a lot of uncertainty, especially for us, like as a couple, you put a lot of pressure on the other person. You know, like you feel like okay, like you figure it out and make me feel certain. And I think that's a big um burden to put on somebody else, and it starts really with like with like what
Mm.
is, like you said, like what is the one thing that you could do right now to change that, to shift that.
So it's a good question that came in right now that I was listening from this guy Mo. He said Jesus said that we must love thy neighbor as we love ourselves. Do you think that we must have certainty in knowing how to love ourselves first? And that's one of the biggest challenges today that all of us, that there's certainty in the world and a relationship. So I 100% think that I was just telling one of my guys today in the mastermind that he said his relationship with his kids have changed because he's appreciating them more. So he's sending them texts every single day,
It's beautiful.
notes, little cards here, appreciating them. And then it wasn't just a time thing. It wasn't like a week thing. It's been already 6 months
Oh,
that he's
wow.
doing it consistently. And he said that his son is like, hey, Dad, like, thank you. Like you're
Oh,
you're
that's so
building
good.
those blocks, right?
Yeah.
But what I told him, I said the feedback is that you pour in the love and appreciation because you first started appreciating yourself. Because before, what we do, and I remember doing that, and I'll send you a text and I'll wait for a reply. Or I'll send, I send my son a text or my daughter a text and I'll wait for a reply. And if
Yeah.
they didn't reply, I'm like, why? I don't get no love? Like, why, I'm giving you love. I should get a reply back, right?
Should.
But then at the end of it is I'm giving you with conditions. I'm giving you with expectations
Yeah.
because I need the validation. I need that reply. I need that recognition, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm giving you from a needy place, that means I don't have enough.
Yeah.
But if I'm pouring on you because I feel like, man, I feel good. Like I'm just texting you that I love you. Thank you for everything you do. If I'm just giving, I'm giving
Yeah. Yeah.
out of abundance, then I don't need a reply back. I don't need the acknowledgement because I'm acknowledging myself. So if you cannot give what you don't have.
And then it gets me back, okay, to the like the uncertainty that sometimes we feel. We as moms, we as women, like we have uncertainty in the way that we feel, the way that we look, the way that we show up for the world, the way that we show up for our family. And we hold on to like how our kids, how our husband, how all this other factors make us feel. And we're kind of like just hiding, just how like men hide with their business, like we hide with those things too. And I know like it's kind of harsh for me to even say that, but that's how I was like when I felt uncertain. Like I just relied on my kids' love. I
Yeah.
relied on your love because of the uncertainty that I was feeling. When I was really like in tune to what I was feeling, or the uncertainty that I was feeling, or the questions that I was going through, I really had to have those harsh conversations with myself, by myself, and ask God. And even then, like when you don't hear God, it's like, okay, what is the, like I feel like the Holy Spirit is inside of us. It will always speak to us and through us. And once we let go of those things, those uncertainty, those beliefs, those anxiety, then we could be honest and come from a place of love and have all that like overflow that we could give somebody else.
And that comes from you knowing and having self-awareness that nobody could bring you certainty except for yourself.
Yeah.
So the number one need for a woman is certainty. Well, but if you want your husband to give you certainty, that
You
means
got to be certain about
that means that
yourself.
you're depending on somebody else's somebody else
To
to create your
validate
world.
your love. To
But if
validate
you
who you
could
are.
build your own certainty, you might be able to shift that person when he's uncertain. Because I remember clearly when I was uncertain in my life and I was almost at the bottom that I couldn't believe in myself, you gave me the certainty because you were certain. You believed in what I could do. So when you were certain, because it can be,
Thank God I did that for you.
it can't be just like, oh, everybody's, has certainty, has faith, and yeah, it'd be beautiful. But if one person loses it, the other person has to remind them,
Yeah.
and vice versa. So you don't depend on just one person. You build yourself first. You acknowledge yourself. You build yourself up. You love yourself. You work on yourself to be able to pour on the other person, your partner, out of abundance, out of overflow. Not because you
Then-
need it,
right.
but because you have so much of it that you want to pour it on the other
Yeah.
person.
And then you could love your neighbor like Jesus tells us to love. Like imagine like if we were to go and love everybody else. Like I have this picture of like, okay, we're going to go give love. And then we come back and we're like depleted of love. And that's not,
And that's what's
not
happening in
who God-
relationships.
that's not
Whether
who
relationships
God
like,
is.
I want you to validate me. I need you to make me feel better, as opposed to like you feel better, so then you are gonna just give out of overflow, and that person's gonna give out of overflow. That's where the passion, that's where the connection,
that's where you could
where
thrive.
spark comes in.
Yeah, and that's why our relationship was able to shift. Because if you're listening to this, like Raul and I have been married for 22 years, and we were in a place where there wasn't this overflow, it wasn't this certainty, but it takes work, it takes energy, it takes this decision that, you know, like you're going to work on yourself. And that's really like we have done separately. It's like he worked on himself, I worked on myself. And it was from a place of like, I need to get to know the certainty that I needed. And the certainty, not necessarily just from me, but who God created in me. And thank God that we're still here.
And one thing I'll tell the guys, if you're listening, if a man is listening, is that you can't be your wife's coach. Like I'm your lover. I'm not your coach.
You
'Cause
try.
I try. The first times I try to coach you, I try to
Yes.
help you, but I realize that sometimes you need to hear from somebody else. So I'm always, when I listen to the podcast you listen to, and the person says like, part of me said like, I've been telling you this since day one. I've been telling you this since years ago, but
I told you to work on yourself.
But you don't listen to the same way that you will listen to other people. So if you're right now in a relationship, you need to have other perspective. You need to have somebody else. Stop trying to coach each other. You're lovers. You're not each other's, father or mother.
Yeah.
And then I think that if more couples look at each other that way, say, okay, we're here together. We both have to grow and we have to evolve. You need to figure out who you're going to coach with, who you're going to listen to. I need to figure out who I need to listen to.
Yes.
The saddest thing that I hear all the time is when, women or men that, sign up to your coaching program, my coaching program, and then they decide to do something, but then their partner says, no, you can't because I want you to do it this way. Like that's the part, like if you want to grow and you want to expand, like you should make a decision for yourself, not depend on somebody else to validate you because you're going in your own process. I remember when I started getting help and I hired Tony Robbins to coach me, like I called you just to tell you this is the shit that I've done. This is what I'm doing. And it was a lot of money, but at the end of the day, it was a decision that I made, and whether I was going to take advantage of it or not, it was on me. And if I would have failed, I would have failed on my own sword. So one of the things that I believe stops every man from really thriving in the relationship is the permission that sometimes he doesn't give himself to show up. And the fear that what if I do show up and I fail? Because he doesn't want to feel like a failure. Yeah. And the wife says, I told you so.
And that brings more uncertainty, because the minute that you want to show up, right? It's like, I see that all the time with your men. It's like, and my women, they want to show up. They want, like, they feel something that needs to change. They feel like that, it's like, okay, no more of this. I already drew the line in the sand, and all of a sudden, like, no, you can't, or you shouldn't, or whatever it is. So if you're listening to this, again, like, if it's not us, it could be anyone. Right now, we live in in an era that has so much technology, whether it's books or people, whatever it is. Like, if you feel that in your heart, if you feel that, women, and like your intuition, that that something needs to change,
do something about it.
Just do it. Don't ask for permission.
Give yourself the permission. Give yourself the permission. Yeah. Like, a man shouldn't give you permission. A woman shouldn't give you permission. You listen to that voice and give yourself the permission to follow your intuition, to follow that voice, to actually do something about the problem. Nobody's going to come to save you.
I know. And it sounds really bad because it almost feels like, you're not going to listen to your husband, but that's not really what we're saying here. That's another thing. Like, I love my husband so much, and everything that I've done, it's like, we bring it to each other, and not in a sense of like, hey, do you give me permission? I'm going to go do this. No, but it's like, hey, babe, like, this is something that I really want to do for myself. Can you support me on it? Can you help me with it? Can you just edify what I'm feeling? Is it right or is it wrong? But not like from a sense of like, hey, do you give me permission? Because I really
look at the way that sounds. If I try to do something, if I want to better myself, right? If I go to you and said, hey, babe, I'm going to hire this crazy guy who's cursing every 5 minutes in YouTube, and he wants to give me the edge. Do you think I should do it? Or what do you think? Automatically, right? What are you hearing from this? automatically.
I know nothing about the guy. I don't know who he is. He's going to take you away from me. He's probably going to take all our money. It's a scam. Like all these things, because our primal instinct is to protect, is to mother, is to take care of you.
And you don't even know anything about it. You're just
No.
reacting, right?
But I would love for you to change. Let me just show you this book that I picked up.
It will cost you a lot less. It will cost you a lot less. And you don't, or what I hear a lot too is like, you listen to me. You don't need a guy to tell you what to do. You listen to me.
I'll tell you exactly what's wrong with you. We're
Yes.
going to work on these 5 things and you'll be all set. Oprah told me to tell you this.
And
Oh
that's
my God, it's so
and the
hilarious.
guy goes in, well, I can't do it because, like I don't want to have a fight.
Yeah.
I don't want to fight. Sometimes the advice I tell the guys like,
Oh.
you need this fight. You need to go and have polarity.
Yeah.
Because now there's energy. Now
Yeah.
it says, listen, here's how you frame it. You go in and say, I don't need a permission. I'm not asking permission. I'm asking for collaboration. I want you to support me as I go through this because a lot of things are going to change. And I just want you to give me the opportunity to see, so you could see the change. And if
Yeah.
I don't change, if something happens, well, you could kick me all you want because I fucked up. But at least I want you to know what I'm doing. So it's a whole different energy because now I'm asking for support,
Yeah.
not
I
asking for
see that.
permission.
I know. I see it all the time. And that in itself brings more uncertainty. And again, we go back to this hamster wheel that keep going around and around and around.
But
So
one of the things that I learned, Tony Robbins frames it in a great way is the 6 human needs, right? Certainty is number 1. Like every single one of us, we need certainty. The
uncertainty.
second one is we also need uncertainty.
Uncertainty.
Because if we have certainty every single time, then
It's boring.
it's boring. Like,
Yeah.
life wouldn't have that juice. So uncertainty, we need that uncertainty.
Yes.
So at some level, that uncertainty even brings us closer, right? As a couple,
Yeah,
uncertainty
it's
brings us
something
closer because we're
different.
going to figure things
Yeah.
out, right?
Yeah.
The third, which I think a lot of us get stuck on, is not having variety, not having things that are different, not a variety, because if it's the same old. I mean, this year I told you that we want to try different things.
We're doing an adventure.
to have
More
an
adventurous.
adventure year. So it's,
Yeah.
it's variety.
Yeah.
Then the third one is love and connection.
Mhm.
Primarily, we need love, but we settle for connection. We settle for just, you like me, not
Especially
loving
as
me.
women, we'll settle for connection because that's what we're like so wired to connect.
Then we have, after connection, a love of connection, then we have growth. Not everyone is looking for growth. And that's where you start looking at, the human needs. Growth may not be necessarily in somebody's need because they're so worried about the love and connection or the certainty and uncertainty. So growth is another need that we need. But as we evolve, we need more of it.
And
And if we're less conscious, we need less of it.
And then growth is also, it brings uncertainty and it brings fear.
Well,
and
that's-
then when you have growth in a relationship, whether you're growing and I'm not, then it's like, well, what about me? You're going to leave me behind and you're going to grow and I'm not because I choose not to grow right now.
And growth happens at the end of the comfort zone. So we
Yes.
want growth, like you said, like this guy wants to grow, but he wants to know everything. This man wants to have a
Yeah.
queen,
Yeah.
but wants to be ready for it. This woman
Yeah.
wants connection, but she doesn't want to let go, right?
Yep.
So growth happens on the other side of your fear. Growth happens on the other side of the comfort zone. And the last one is contribution. And contribution is when you actually want to give without anything back. You just want to-
Contribution
want
kind
to
of
just
like
create an impact.
when you have all of those, almost like maybe that's why it's the last one. Because you feel like you have love, you have connection, uncertainty, growth.
Well, that's
then you
that's
can
the part
give.
that is not in an order.
In an order?
In an order.
Oh,
That
okay.
you decide
What's your
which
order?
one is your order. And what I see with a lot of women, the number one is certainty.
Of course.
And if you look at men, our need is not certainty.
Is it
Our
uncertainty?
need is growth.
Growth.
If we're not growing, we're dying. If I'm not growing my business, it's going backwards. If I'm not growing, so if my need is growth because I'm an entrepreneur, I'm trying to innovate, then my second need is certainty, but it's not necessarily like if it's uncertainty, as a certainty around me, I know that it's going to push me, it's going to help me grow. Then you start looking at what's your next level. Like for me, it's connection, love and connection. So I need, as I continue to evolve, I need to push the contribution to be in my top 3 needs, right? Because the contribution is the impact.
Yeah.
So those 6 human needs are key. If I don't know if Tony has a video or something. That
I'm
explains,
sure. I'm sure he's so good
you
at that.
Google
Yeah.
6 Human Needs by Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Amazing teachings. So that's in a nutshell. Certainty is the number 1 need of every single woman. If a man wants to bring connection, you have to be certain on the things that you're doing to be able to create a space for your partner to have that certainty.
I love that.
All right, so thank you for watching this episode. If you want us to answer some of your questions,
Joe is there. Thank you, Joe, for coming in.
Cindy, we have Cindy, Crystal. So keep sharing the videos, keep commenting on our YouTube page. Connect with us in iTunes, in Spotify, in YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow us everywhere except for Up That Room, as we keep it private. Learn it, live it,
experience it, love life.
If you receive any value from this conversation, comment, subscribe, and share as we continue to impact more people and take them to the next level.
And please send us your comments and questions so we could answer them in the next podcast.
See you in the next episode.